All right. Hey, homies, what's up? See, we got a couple people watching. Welcome to the Ryan Wynn channel. We're going to be doing an Eternity sketch cover today from Valiant Comics. And this is for our homie Jordan from over on Twitter. I'm a little out of breath. I was running around getting stuff all ready and getting stuff set up for this. That's Jordan saying, hey, everybody, NES Master 80. We're going to... Got Not My Name in the house. All right, we're gonna ring the bell to get things started here. All right, so before I get to doing sketch covers, even if I'm at a convention, I gotta warm up. I can't just pull up a sketch cover and be like, okay, awesome piece of art, here we go. So you can see here, I have been warming up for quite a bit. What I've been doing lately is hopping over to Jim Lee's YouTube channel. And boy, if you're not watching Jim Lee's YouTube channel, you're really missing out. Even if you're not an artist, it's so much fun and it's so interesting to watch him explain the dynamics of comic book action figure, or I shouldn't say action figures, excuse me, comic book characters, their forms, and how to put them into action. Obviously, I was just doing some pretty static shots here, just loosening up, doing, torso pieces and little heads here and there, and then I get to doing fingers and hands. And then when I'm ready to start brainstorming, I'll do little sketches of the sketch cover. So we have our cover, we've got the logo that's printed on here, the Eternity logo, which is super badass. Let's check it out. It's really simple, but they've just, I think it was Ryan Johnson, R-I-A-N, but still another Ryan in comics. So very simple sans serif font, and all I did was curve the T's to this circle. I would have loved to see the steps leading up to this, or other ideas he had. I think that would have been cool. I also wouldn't be surprised if this was his original idea, just inspired immediately and went straight for that. So that's pretty cool. So the tools I'm going to be using are a dollar pencil. I get these in a pack at the dollar store. I used to use, I still kind of use expensive lead holders sometimes, like this. But I found that the lead that comes in these cheapos from the Japanese dollar store, I like the way it works on my sketch covers. It's all thin line. I don't actually do that much side of the pencil work, but when I do, I'll break out the big guys. So we're just going to be using that. We're going to be using a bit of kneaded eraser. This guy's already beat up and worn in. Probably should have grabbed a new one for this, but whatever. And then we'll also be using a white nylon eraser. It's also kind of dirty, but there we go. So with these sketch covers, one thing I didn't like about this one, I was actually really bummed, is they put an image on the back of this one. I usually like to do something that crosses over, and sometimes I like to do something that leads from here over to here, and then there's a reveal. Like you'll see Ninjak and his hands will come over here, and then I'll draw his sword with blood dripping down or something like that. But that being said, it is kind of cool that they put an image like that on the back. It's a big zoom in on my inks over Trevor. And this was from a digital panel, so it zoomed in really nicely. The digital stuff isn't vector art, but it prints up really nicely at high resolution. So anyways, back to the sketch cover. We've got this logo here. So I like to come in and start thinking of ideas. So my initial idea was Jordan wanted divinity, so I was thinking a cool headshot here. I like doing portrait work, kind of head and shoulder shots. Those are my funnest for sketch covers. And then I was thinking, well, I like divinity meditating, so maybe we can draw him meditating, which I've done before, floating above the circle. So I'm still playing with those ideas. And, you know, I was going to try to figure out something for the back cover, but that's already got Mishka there. So, blah, blah. I don't know why I'm redrawing the back cover for you. Like, this is that. So then, you know, we've got the little titles up here too, so we want to make sure that the composition works for what we've got here. And basically, you don't even have a cover to work with. You've got, this is your main focal point. Obviously, yeah, you can draw around here and extend around there, do whatever you want. Yeah, I already did the back cover. So there, I'm done. I already did the back cover. I didn't promise you which side of the cover I was going to do, Jordan, but since they already printed that, we're done. All right, thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. No, but seriously. So what else can we do? We've just got, it's this square. I still think I want to do something dramatic in here. Like I see the focal point coming to this circle. So that's why I was thinking something like this. We'll do a zoom in, like if we had Abram's head there. You know, say this is the cover. And we put his circle there, or the logo there. The logo's there. And then it almost hints at being the circle that's on his chest piece. And he's got his big old spaceman collar. Helmet kind of, it's not a helmet, it's the headpiece, the tight hood kind of piece that wraps around, and then his mohawk. So I was almost thinking, what if we pretend there's light coming off this, and he'll be uplit, sort of dramatically. His big white eyes. So you hit the shadows on the cheeks, hit the shadow on the nose, hit the shadow on the upper lip and the chin, top of the head. I think you can kind of see it coming in. Hopefully you guys can already see a figure working out just from laying in these shadow shapes. And this is exactly how I would do it at a convention. I would just slowly work it out like this. I want it to look cool, small, and I want it to be able to read as to what it is. So even in this scribbly form, you should be able to tell, like, oh, it's an uplit dude. Okay, I see that. And we'll have a shadow here from his collar, where the logo is. He's got this big old collar here. Yeah, I don't know if I finished what I was saying about the Jim Lee channel, but I highly recommend going over there. And I don't recommend anything without saying I highly recommend. So I recommend checking out the Jim Lee channel. It's really fun, it's really informative, and he gets really punchy on some of the late night ones. The other night was a really fun one. He did it for a couple hours, and it gets really fun. The crowd gets going good. All right, I'm gonna take a peek, make sure I didn't miss any comments. Don't forget the tubes. Oh my gosh, the tubes. Tubes. So he's got this one tube on this side. It comes around, and then here he's just got the circles. I don't know if those will make it into the image. We'll try to make those work. But yeah, I definitely want the Eternity logo to kind of be worked into the costume. So Jordan seems to like that, so we're gonna roll with that. And again, at a convention, usually people are hanging out at the table while they do all this and chiming in and throwing in their 2 cents. So now I'm just gonna I want to work the shadows so that his face really pops. Almost his whole neck would be in shadow from his big collar here. And there'd be a shadow kind of behind his head projected. You know, I almost think inside his collar, his whole collar would be shadowed. You've got that light right there. Thing you got to be careful with when you do these up shots is you don't actually want to shade above the lip too much. Even when you look at reality, there may be a heavier shadow there, but it tends to just read as a mustache. So we're going to be real careful in there. Our heavier shadows will be on the nose, which protrudes more, and on the cheeks where they sink in to meet the eyelid. and then also a subtle shadow on his chin here. Since I tend to draw cartoony and we're going to make him sort of heroic, he'll have a strong chin as well. All right, so I'm thinking we're going to do something like this. I haven't decided if I'm going to add color. Jordan may chime in and say if he wants color or not, but sometimes it depends on how the excuse me, it depends on how the piece goes. Sometimes it looks really powerful in black and white, depending on how much rendering I do, and I don't feel it needs color. I don't ever try to cheat out of doing color, if that's what somebody wants. But if I feel a piece is stronger in black and white, I may suggest keeping it in black and white. Unless I'm tabling next to David Barron, then I make sure he colors it. We try to table with each other as much as possible and do signings together as often as possible. And we have a lot of fun. He's a good artist as well, and he'll pencil things and then I'll ink them. I don't know, I make little markings. He'll pencil, I'll ink, and then he'll color, or I'll color, or he'll pencil and ink a piece himself and I'll color that. We mix it up, we mix and match it, and it's really fun. So if you ever get a chance to come to a signing where David Barron and I are, we promise it'll be a good time. So we've got this figured out. And again, pretending this is treating it like I do at a convention. So I'm going to make sure Jordan thinks this is a cool idea. All right, Jordan digs black and white, so we'll see how it goes. Because who knows, at the end we may want to hit just parts of his red, you know, things like that, black, white, and red. Sometimes that turns out cool, but sometimes just the black and white works. So I'm going to do one more little warm-up of a head here, just to sort of work out the ideas. So I'm not the best penciling teacher, but we'll see what we do here. So I do all the fundamentals. I follow all the rules pretty much every time. You do your circle for the main part of your head, and I'm drawing a bigger jaw than you normally would off that circle. Like a normal human, you would bring it in somewhere like around here, and you would cut the circle around here on the sides. But I'm doing a little more of a heroic jaw on Abram. Plus, I've been drawing a little cartoony on the cartoony side lately. Been looking at a lot of Darwin Cook and Bruce Timm stuff, and their art is all based on blocking in shapes and then blocking in the shadows. Composition, you block in the shapes, and then you take what you've composed and you block in all the shadows. So I've been trying to work out stuff like that. Simplify all your ideas. So here we just have the head and the shoulders. Okay, and then we'll center it. And we'll center it again on the circle. We're centering on the circle where the eyes are. So he's going to slightly be looking up. So let's see, we're going to block in where we want his eyes. I tend to go a little wide on the eyes sometimes. My eyes are wide set. Trevor draws wide set eyes on people. He has wider set eyes. You can usually kind of guess what an artist will look like by how they draw people, especially if they use themselves as reference. So my characters will sometimes have like bigger foreheads, and I have to bring it in, and I think it's just because I have a bigger forehead, so it's funny like that. So then I'll rest the nose on this end of the circle there, and this is a nice little triangle there. It leads down to the mouth, crossed over where the mouth would be, and then I just do like a light circle where that would outline the lips, in a sense. And then this circle actually hints at his jawbones. And since we're uplighting, we're just going to give a hint of where the cheeks are there now. So then the ridge of the forehead comes in here, and his hairline would probably be about here. Now he's going to have his helmet and hood on, which comes down to his eyebrows, and then his mohawk. Okay, looking good. So we'll remember the tube. So everyone knows how much I hate those damn tubes. But at least in this shot, we'll probably only have one tube. So since we're gonna have him just slightly looking up, I think we'll thin this out. We'll close in the collar a little tighter. Like that. And then let's see, we don't want to forget his ears. So his ears, since he's looking up a little, but just slightly, the ears will be a little lower than normal. Normally they'd be from the eyes to the nose if you're looking dead on, and he just has those round ear covers, so we don't even actually have to draw ears, but we do want them to be symmetrical, line up nicely. So Abram's always stoic. He's very expressionless. It's weird how interesting of a book it is for, I mean, he's kind of a boring character. But I think that's one of the things that works, is he's kind of a boring character. He handles situations a little differently, but the situations he gets into are interesting, and the people he deals with are interesting. So he can tend to be a little blander. I almost don't think he would work in a movie. Okay, so we want to get the outline of the costume right. I used to be able to draw all of this stuff from perfect memory so quickly. Like when we were on Divinity 3, around that time, I was drawing so much Divinity, and even just in my sketchbook, like I was doing sketch covers for people, and then just for fun, that man, I would whip it out in no time, even though it's a very complex costume. Now Abram is black, so we want to make sure he has features that say that, even in black and white. We want him to be distinct, but you don't want to caricature or over-exaggerate or anything like that. But that was something Brian Stelfreeze taught me when I was young. He was one of the artists I used to talk to a lot at conventions, or at San Diego when he would come out. And he said, you know, you don't be careful and don't be careful when you're drawing people of different ethnicities or backgrounds or whatever. And he said, you can't be too timid that's not discernible, but then you also can't walk into like any sort of like stereotyping caricatures or anything like that. But he just said, you know, if you're drawing from the heart and you're a good guy, that stuff's not going to happen. So don't be afraid to make sure your characters look like the race or ethnicity that they're supposed to be. Learned a lot from Stelfreeze. Man, that guy was a great teacher, even just at conventions. He's another person I highly recommend checking out if you can get YouTube videos of him drawing, or even just interviews. He's a nice guy to listen to, talk about art and comics and stuff. Okay, so we're gonna do something like this, and gosh, it seems so boring, but once we get the lighting in there, this will work nicely. So this part of the nose will be heavily shadowed here, and it casts the shadow up the nose like that. And then over here we'll have a shadow too. And then the top of the cheek here be like this, and this almost works compositionally. When you do this sort of black shape up against the eye, it really draws the reader's eye up there. And we'll do less shadows here across the top of the lips, but the lower lip will do a heavier shadow on top. And then these, I don't know what you call these. I never asked Matt or Trevor or Luis LaRosa what this chin pad is. It kind of looks cool. It's got these 3 circles with lights on them and stuff. So it looks cool, but it's like, I don't know. What is that, bro? What do those do? All right, so then the top of his head will be, oh yeah, you know what? There's a seam here and here, and there's another circle there. So he's got, part of the breakup of Divinity's costume is 5 circles on the face, and then there's let's see, his torso. See, the costume's like this. Here's his head, here's his collar. It has 4 circles like that. Like, here's his arms. Do-do-do. That's a beautiful divinity, huh? His hands. So he's got 5 circles on his face, and then he's got 5 circles on his chest, and then he has 5 tubes. There's a tube on his chest, 1 on that arm, 1 on that arm, and then 1 in each leg. So I don't know what the 3 5s, if that was some sort of symbolism or numerology that Matt or any of the artists that designed it, Trevor or Lewis, were playing with, but that's how I remembered it. I noticed that's how the costume was configured. All right, so if we do get the tube in there, get back to this, that'll be shadowed there, and then we want white against this black just for design sense, but then again, our light source is here, so we're gonna get a cast shadow of this against the tube there. So it'll go back to black there. And then inside his, to erase that little line just so I remember that tube's in front. Inside his collar will be black. And then get back to shading here. So we'll bring the shadow to sort of like just past where the hairline would be, the top of the forehead. Like the top of the head would be here, his hairline, and the forehead usually comes out a little. So what we're doing, this is from the side, sorry, if he's looking this way. There's his nose, here's his ear. If he's looking that way right now, we're gonna do that shadow. That brings us in here. And then we'll take his mohawk. Let's see, his mohawk is split in, his mohawk is split in 5 pieces too. His mohawk from the side, again, looking this way. Here's his costume. See, now I'm drawing fast and getting the proper proportions when I draw fast, once you start sketching. So it's 1, 2, let me see, 3, 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I guess it's 6. I thought it was 5. Oh well, forget that. Damn, it's live, I can't edit that out. All right, so part of me likes the neck being white. Just the designer in me is liking that. I'll have a little bit of a shadow from each ring on the fold there. We might go gray in here, just do some lines. Some shadow lines like that, and we'll do a few lines on the cheeks like that and on the nose up here. All right, I think I'm getting ready to do this. We're 20 minutes in. It's about time we got started on this cover, right? So let's get sketchbook secure here next to me so I can use that as reference. Got my erasers handy. Let's see, I'll put those up here. They don't need to be in the shot. Erasers are handy for me. They're ready to go. So you'll see them pop in and out of frame like this. Okay, so now this is a time at a convention where I would probably shut up for a while and just get to working and let people ask questions when they need to. So if you want to ask a question, ask a question. I'm trying to look up while I'm doing this, but I'm probably going to get kind of invested in the drawing. So hopefully there won't be a lot of dead air, and I'll be filling your ears with wisdom and amazing stories. But if not, it just means I'm getting lost in the sketch, and hopefully it's still entertaining to look at the process. So I'm going to chug some water real quick. Something I don't do enough of at conventions. A lot of artists don't eat or drink enough food or water when they're at conventions, and it's something I'm constantly trying to stay on my friends about, as if I'm some sort of I'm everybody's mom or something at the conventions. I'm always making sure they eat right, wash their hands, do all this stuff. So let's see, I'm gonna just lightly block in where I think I want the head. Because again, this isn't gonna actually be part of the costume. It's just gonna kind of hint at where the circle on his chest is. Because otherwise, you only get a little bit. I'd either have to draw it so big for that to be right, or so small that this would be too big. So it's just a design element. We're not actually working it into the piece. So something like that. His head and shoulders would come down here. The collar would come across about there because we don't want that hitting this. So I'm gonna do that. I tend to sing and hum a lot when I'm drawing. I try not to do it on the videos. So bear with if I end up doing that. It means I'm concentrating. So this will be, again, I don't know what the piece is, the vocabulary for the cosmonaut costume or suit is. They would not call it a costume. Because he has the basic white spacesuit on, and then it has this red vest that works over it here. And then we'll have the ports for the tubes, which in other videos I've made mention that the tubes are kind of, it's funny that they incorporated them permanently into his costume, being that those are kind of used for like cycling through waste and everything, and not just oxygen and things like that, but the suits cycle through waste and things like that. So is he eternally crapping in his suit and it's filtering through somehow, or is it just he doesn't even go to the bathroom anymore? That's some nerdy Valiant stuff to figure out. What's Divinity's eating and bathroom habits? All right, got a few more people hanging out. What's up, guys? All right, so I think we blocked it in pretty nicely. That's why it pays off to sketch things out first. Even at a convention when you're trying to be quick, if I would have tried to figure out all of that on the sketchboard, it would have been a lot of erasing, a lot of refiguring stuff out. Because when I do things small, you can see it all better and figure it all out much quicker. Now I'm just basically mapping it from that. So we've got our eyes. We're going to do our nose here again on the bottom of that circle that we've cut off the edge of the circle here. And we'll come down. We've got our center line that we kind of want to meet everything on. Looks like I need to adjust that a little. About there. So it's okay if things aren't perfect. When you're drawing yourself, it's okay if things aren't perfectly symmetrical. You want to get it as close as possible, but you'll notice some people that draw digitally will even just draw half a face and then use the mirror. They'll either copy and paste and flip it, or there's certain applications for digital platforms that you can, it mirrors as you draw. So as I draw this, it would draw the same there. And that works too, but sometimes that can get a little, it looks a little stiff or unnatural because people aren't naturally symmetrical anyways. Well, the really pretty people are. So I guess superheroes should be too, because superheroes should be better than the rest of us. Better looking, smarter, all that stuff. All right, the very mellow Abram here. I think he only took a couple swings in the entire series. I think the first time he actually hit anybody or did anything to them was the Russian bad guys. When he and Ninjak were fighting them. Or I guess it's just he was fighting them. Ninjak was doing his other stuff. But. All right, so even though he's a little expressionless, we're going to try to make it look dynamic with the lighting. And then we'll try to do something cool with the background as well. All right, I'm going to block in his mohawk. So little Valiant trivia. I don't know if you'd call it Valiant trivia. Let's call it behind the scenes. This is, I'm pretty sure the turn of events happened like this. Trevor forgot to draw the mohawk on the first part of the first couple issues of the series. So then they made it be a thing that when he reconfigured his ship, he then had the mohawk. Because, yeah, David Barron and I noticed it, and the book, it was such a weird book, we were thinking like, oh, it'll come into play. They know what's going on. And then they were like, oh, crap, forgot about the mohawk. All right, let's make the mohawk work. So what I thought it was going to be originally was, because I was wondering too, you know, I know a little bit about the Russian space program. I'm kind of a fan of that kind of stuff. And I had never seen a mohawk on a costume or a uniform like that or anything. So I thought it was going to be something interesting like, oh, the helmet locks in on top of that. Like the helmets that they wear have some sort of slot and it locks them in and does something. I didn't realize it was just supposed to be a cool design element. And actually, I'd like to talk to Luis LaRosa. Would be fun to talk to about the design process for this. Brian Reber too. He was in on the color process of the design. I don't know how much input he had on the figure. He may have been going back and forth with Lewis on that too, so he may have some insight. Need to get these guys on my channel and bug them about stuff. Go a little wider on the head there. Get this little thing. I forget what this thing is called on the eyes. Maybe we'll do a slight smile on Abram. Because he does that sometimes. That's about as emotional as he gets. Until Eternity, which if you haven't read Eternity, it's not a spoiler, but he actually gets, he's pretty pissed off in Eternity. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool to see him actually get like really emotional about stuff. And Mishka has to be the one to play it cool. Like she's the one that's understanding everything that's going on in this series, which is a great way to flip your characters around. So lips are a little strong now. I wouldn't make them that pronounced. They still look a little feminine to me, but we'll get in there and fix all that. So make a tip to the nose here, which will not be that pronounced. And then here the brow comes in to meet the nose. You know, we're gonna come up higher with these little cheek flaps. I like them to be almost like a Roman helmet. Yeah, he's just made up of all these like great shapes, these great design pieces. That's why I think it'd be fun to hear LaRosa's process for that. A stronger jaw there. It's round, but I want it to have a strong looking jaw. All right, that looking okay, Jordan? Yeah, Jordan was saying it would be interesting to hear the design meetings for that. I think that kind of stuff would be great if people would get on recording that stuff these days. And obviously you don't have to share it right away, but then you have it. Even if you save that kind of stuff for like, oh, the trade's out now for a series, go to our YouTube page or our homepage or whatever and check out this video from the writer's retreat. But then I think you're going to get a bunch of people in trouble because then you're going to see how much goofing around they do before they actually get their work done. Be a bunch of comic artists telling fart jokes and what their favorite episode of Rick and Morty was and things like that. So maybe it's better that they don't record it. There can be some like air of mystery, and you guys can think, oh, everyone's so magical and professional and stuff like that. I almost think I need his shoulders to be broader. You know what? I almost think we can add a ring here. Excuse me. All this constant talking drives me out. Got a gallon of water here next to me. I gotta stay hydrated. I recommend that if you're going to a convention, whether you're an artist or a fan. Just take a gallon of water with you. Yeah, you look like a weirdo carrying a gallon of water around, but boy, you'll never be thirsty. Stay properly hydrated. Yeah, so we're gonna raise the ring on the collar here. Basically adding another one. And by rings, I mean it's a big big collar with a hard ridge on the top, and the cosmonaut helmet locks into place there. So it's a bubble, it's a big bubble with a metal ring at the bottom like this that locks into his collar, which is a series of folds and flaps like that. So the head would be there. And then it locks into place. And you've got your little bubble full of oxygen. I love the first issue cover to Divinity by Jelena Jurjevic. Hope I said that right. Jelena Jurjevic. Her and her husband are both fantastic painters and designers. And I was super honored to have her as our cover artist for the entire series. I was even worried when she started the Eternity ones because she was doing, even though I'd loved everything she'd done up until then, they were new characters. She was doing the strange unknown characters. And I thought, oh man, people don't know who these characters are. They might not like these covers. We should have her doing more Abram and Mishka. And then people loved them. People were so excited about them. And they said that she made the characters seem so interesting and intriguing. So I'm glad that worked out. I mean, people know how to do this stuff better than I do. That's why I don't run Valiant. So anyways, back to this. I've got my kneaded eraser out. I'm sort of cleaning it up, which means kneading it around like this to get a fresher part that doesn't have so much pencil on it. So what I learned when I was young, and then it was a practice more when I got to Top Cow. Now, I was an inker at Top Cow on the Darkness, but I hung out at the studio with Mark Silvestri and Michael Broussard and the Bossel Duo brothers and Sheldon Mitchell and that gang. And so you got to watch Mark draw, and Mark would always be teaching while he drew. So one of the things that Mark did regularly, and a lot of pencilers do this, is you draw everything out just the way we did it, and then you take your kneaded eraser and you dab it. You do like a push and a twist, and that lightens the entire image without losing any of the structure that you've done. Let's make sure you can see it there. So you can see everything's there. But just lightly dab it. Some boards, if it was a little rougher, I could kind of do a back and forth on it to do that. But this stuff, it's a little smoother, and it kind of gets smudgy and weird if you do that. So I'm gonna spin my kneaded eraser around a little more. So in high school, in art class, we had big supply of kneaded erasers. So I would always grab a bunch of extra ones and just have them with me. And then throughout my other classes throughout the day, I would sculpt things to make my classmates laugh. So we had a history teacher that looked like Homer Simpson. So I would make little Homer heads out of this and break a piece off and do the round eyes and I would actually sculpt out like a little maquette of Homer, like drooling or something like that, and hold it up, get the classmates to laugh, and then get myself into detention. Okay, so we've lightened all this up. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like the way it feels wiping it. We're just gonna keep dabbing for a second. And if there's any Venture Brother fans out there, you'll know what I mean when I say, "Did you dab? Did you dab? Stop saying dab." If you're not a Venture Brothers fan, get on it. Venture Brothers is awesome. Okay, so this is lightened up pretty good, and we can come back in with our cheapy pencil and start laying in some final lines, some real confident lines that we'll ink over in a few minutes. And we're going to go real bold when we ink it. See, now that everything's there, it's almost like inking with a pencil. I could go in, and a lot of artists would have just gone in on what I had there with their ink brush or ink pens, whatever they use. But I like to just give it this one more stage. I don't like to overwork things because then they look overworked, but I like to get things to a certain level and have a certain cleanliness to them. And also this helps me with the design, because even when I'm just doing a portrait like this, I'm trying to work it into a design. Everything's sort of a design. Yeah, I'm having fun with this. He's a really fun character to draw. You know what? I didn't make his ears as low. It's a little, I'm gonna roll with this. I may adjust those. Kind of interesting having the camera here, because I can look at the camera and see the art from a higher up angle than what I'm working at. So that's kind of interesting. I want to round that out a little there. Well, we're going to follow through so we can really get this somewhere in there. Okay, we'll come back and erase for the mohawk. So it'll be a seam that comes around here, which again, it's not necessary, but I like it as a design element. And then we're going to find our center line, which I don't think you can really see on the camera anymore. So what I do next is I kind of do like just a few little dots where the center line is, so I can make sure that I'm hitting everything on the right and left equally. So I want to center this jaw part. So what's better about this than actually being at a convention is not only does it smell better, but you guys can see this better. At a convention, I would have this slanted on a art board on my lap, and you'd be watching either from the side or upside down, basically. And here you get to see it from basically my point of view, or it's sort of an over-the-shoulder kind of point of view that you're getting. And something I learned from Kevin Nolan, who I've never met in person, so I didn't learn this from him in person. But he's an artist and inker. He's an exceptional inker. He's one of my main inking gods. He takes his pencil art really far. Like, his inking is just tracing. Like, the lines may be sketchy like this, but he figures out everything in the inks. And then his inking process is fun and smooth and not full of fixing his pencils or reworking things like that. All right, so I'm gonna got my center of the nose here. We're gonna make sure those nostrils are equal. Make sure we're in frame here. So again, I tend to be a little cartoony. So things are simplified in my versions of things. Sometimes I tend to do, or sometimes I'll do something more realistic. I like doing cartoony stuff with realistic lighting. That's sort of my favorite thing, which is kind of why I like doing comic books. All right, so I got that. And normally I do the eyes first, but my eyes they're placed there pretty nicely, and I want to make sure I get this mouth right. The mouth was bugging me a little bit. So I've explained before in videos, the lips, there's an M here, and then sort of a V with two lines off the side, and then a W. Could almost be another M there, you could say, a more stylized M. But the lips everyone's lips kind of have those same shapes, just compressed or spread out differently. So I don't think we made his jaw as strong as I want. Let me see. Let me get a look at this. I think we're going to go a little bigger on here. Bring down the jaw a touch. Yeah, I'm liking that better. And then I like, let's see, let's bring these eyebrows sort of up right in the, just a touch in the middle, like he's got a softer expression going on. And I may bring down this a little too. So the eyes are generally going to be kind of where the nostrils are. So even if I was exaggerating this more and made his nose like, say, really wide or something, I would still kind of line the inside of the eyes up roughly with this, because the anatomy would still build the same. Do light circles there. It's sort of the whole eyeball. Make sure those look even. All right, so we're looking at 47 minutes. All right. I was trying to get the whole thing done in an hour, so anyone that is hanging out doesn't waste too much of their time here. All right. This heavy side under here. Close up this eye a little more. I'm going to make them look even. Now I'm just bouncing around because I want to come back to the eyes in a second, but I want to make sure that everything else is getting worked out too. So we've got those little circles there, little circles there. Let's go a little bigger on that guy. All right, it's coming out okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. Looking good, Jordan? You digging it? All right, let's get in and do this collar now. Oh wait, you know what? Let's lower his hood. I guess it's a hood. I like it just above his eyebrows. I've drawn it before in the past where you can't see his eyebrows, but I kind of like having the eyebrows visible. All right, and for this we're going to break out a ruler. And we got this grid ruler. So we figured out this is our center line. So let's say, I think we should go, let's go with a 1/4 inch. See if that's gonna be, yeah, that'll be about right. So we did an 1/8 of an inch or whatever. Yeah, an 1/8 of an inch off the center on each side. And now I'll line up the grid so that it's square. And yeah, the mohawk is all the way up, basically. We won't have it go off the page. We'll tuck it in just just on the inside. Whoop. That's why God made erasers. All right, talked about God on a Sunday. I feel like a holy man now. All right, there we go. Should go just on the outside of that a little. There we go. All right, that looks good. And let's see, it's coming at us, and then about here would be the first part where it juts back. And then actually, it would probably be right about here would be the top. So we can erase that. You know what? We'll bring in the big guns. Erase the top like that. Okay. Gosh, we're getting close. We're getting close to inking here. Let's do a collar. Comes around a little higher in line than his mouth, so there's no invisible tangent running through there, because we don't want to draw attention right to his mouth. We want attention on the eyes. And so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're going to do four rings on him. So we got that first ring in. Make it pretty symmetrical, or not symmetrical, pretty evenly spaced on these all the way across. Trevor tends to draw them like more realistic folds, but since I'm more cartoony. Then we have this part of the vest coming in. We'll see a little bit of the inside of it here. Do the same thing here. Close it up there. All right, coming along. So this one we follow through again. This is behind, but then it appears here and here. It follows through and meets up there. And same thing here, follow through. So we get a peek of that one there on the inside. And you know what we are going to have, I'm going to move this over a little, and this over a little here. And then we'll have the tube going off there. And it'll be coming back around like this. Yeah, that works for me. And we'll do the rings on the tube. All right, now we're gonna look at this for a second while I drink some water and get ready for the inking stage. Whoops, got stuff sliding off my desk here. So I think we're going to do one more quick pass with the pencils to add in the shapes, the shadow shapes. You can probably hear all my pencils sliding all over the place now. We're gonna make it look more like that. Let me collect my pencils. Gravity is defeating me here. And I haven't quite decided what tools I'm going to ink it with yet. But since we're going in and doing some shading now, I am going to break out a lead holder. And you can see here let's see, you can't get it in focus really, but there's a flat side to this. And that way I can do real broad shading like this. So I really like drawing with very thin lines. I used to only draw with the heavy ones, and that actually works out really nicely too for blocking in shapes very quickly. Like you can draw a furrowed brow and a nose and eyes in like 3 seconds, you know, with the flat. But I don't know, there's something that I like kind of noodling lightly with the thin pencil and then coming in with the heavier pencil. So that being said, let's go in and start, let's see, blocking off shapes. Okay, so we know, let's start here. This is our light source. Everything's gonna be coming from there. So we're not gonna make giant nostril shadows. They're not gonna be super realistic, but we're gonna definitely shadow the sides that are facing away from the light. And that will make things like his eyes pop and everything like that. So we're gonna start with his mohawk. And I like to shade everything in with a bit of a pattern. Even if I just end up inking it black, I like there being a bit of a pattern. So we're coming off here. Now I want to go to the outside. We're going to, you know what, we're going to do kind of Kirby shadows. We're going to do round black shadows. I really like the way those look. So we've got our flat side. And we're going to do a black ellipse there, a black ellipse there. And then for the side of the head, we'll do a black ellipse here. And again, I'm going to try and do all the scribbling sort of in the scribbling. It looks like I'm doing this is rendering. I'm going to do that all in the direction of the light. So then on the top of his head, to make it slightly interesting and to make these little light circles pop, we'll bring it partway through there. So actually I'm bringing this down more than I normally would just for design. And we'll do a white line through there for that seam. Oh, I already messed up how I'm shading. So it's this way. And then we'll continue this round shadow on top of his head here. Partially through that one. And then again, we'll mirror the other side. We'll do a black ellipse here, or an oval, however you want to describe it. So then he also has his brow, which is here. So we're going to make sure it doesn't look angry. Now this is the eyebrow, and then part of the brow, this muscle here. So we'll shade that. All right, and then his eyebrows, sort of similar. Now I want to do a cool kind of shape here, not just scribble lines. I guess it's not a cool shape, but I want to do a distinguished shape. Like I think we'll do, okay, I will do this part of the cheek, a little oval cut back there. I don't know if you can see that. We'll do a little cut back where the cheek and the eyelids start folding in there. And then we'll do our uplighting here. And the top eyelid, as it goes back in, will have a heavy shadow there. So we can heavy that up on both sides. And that'll help make his eyes pop too. And we'll mirror that shadow there. Okay, so then we've got the underside of his nose here. This would normally be in shadow. But now we got to do the opposite. Since the light's coming from there, we're going to do an ellipse here, an ellipse here. This is how Kirby shadows things. He goes, there's a shadow there, and then he makes it round. So then let's see, we're going to have it come down, an ellipse here, shape here, and then an ellipse shape there, and then one going up the nose that is the shadow of the nose. This is a shadow on the nose. This is a shadow space on the nose. Then this part is a cast shadow of the protruding part of the nose that goes up. And that little black shape helps lead us up into the eyes as well. So you can see it's starting to have a lot more life, even though it's just an image of a guy looking at us. So I like a lot of portrait artists like Norman Rockwell and John Singer Sargent. I like what they can do by just bringing in personality to people. So I try to do that too. I tend to do a lot of portrait shots of superheroes, but I try to have a little bit of personality coming through in it. All right, so we'll do kind of long ellipses, like long drawn out ellipses for the lips, ellipses. Some of these lines will go away. I'll do a little rendering there, like that. Okay, so then the chin, said he's got a strong chin. We'll do a bent, like a stretched out ellipse. That's like this on top of there. And then again, all the rendering goes from the light source. All right, this is coming out pretty good. I'm looking at it through the camera now. It'll be even easier for you guys to see once we start inking. Okay, so we do want a little bit of a shadow from these guys. So we'll do little jelly bean ellipses there. And one there. Oh, I forgot the upper lip, or the lower lip. So we'll do basically a half circle there. And render that. And then we'll go ahead and his entire neck here would be in shadow from his collar. So we'll go ahead and do that. I may follow the rendering lines. I may not go solid black. This is it kind of giving energy to the piece. So let's see, the shadow from the collar would stretch out over this. Let's see, it would bend around it like that. And the shading would be like that, but then on top we're gonna have shadow too. Shadow as well. Okay, so then, okay, we're gonna do black there, we're gonna go gray here. We're gonna switch what we had. I had this all black. So we're gonna go gray here, which will make the black that's done in here, the darker shape, that'll bring that forward. Dark shapes tend to come forward, light shapes tend to settle back. Some will also do a heavy, still keeping kind of an ellipse shape, even though I'm doing long and wide. And then, let's see. Oh, went out of frame there, sorry. We'll, this tube, so now the light's coming from here. So we'll shade that like that. Let's erase the extra. We want his shoulders symmetrical. Actually, I'm kind of impressed. This cheap little pencil, the white vinyl on it is actually a nice little eraser. Usually these cheap pencils, the erasers are brutal and will just smear around or destroy the paper and pencil. Okay, we are at a good point. I'm gonna take another swig of water. So I'm gonna take about 10-second break here. Entertain yourselves, talk amongst each other. I'm drinking some water and deciding what I want to ink this with. I've been having a lot of fun with these brush markers and they work really well on this board, but I might do real brush too. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe do some real brush. You hear that squishy sound? I gotta mix up the ink. It has a dropper in it. And I gotta squeeze the dropper. It mixes up the ink, the binder and the pigment and the ink settle differently. So you gotta mix it up a little. All right, Jordan's digging the piece. And we got William Wolford, my buddy from Twitter, who's gosh, he's an awesome inker, and he's joined us now too. William and I are going to be doing a joint live stream soon, where he's going to sort of act as a student, even though he's beyond student as an inker. He's an excellent inker, but he has a lot of questions, and we decided that we would do sort of almost like a student and a teacher seminar. We're still working that out, but he has a lot of things he wants to ask and learn about, and we decided that let's do it so that everyone else can learn from it too, and maybe we can teach a bunch of people. So that'll be fun. Yeah, you can find him on Twitter. He's a great guy. You're welcome, William. Sorry, I'd never said your name out loud before, and I was like, is it Walford? Wolford? Well, I was like, I gotta say it right, and then so I apologize for that. All right, I'm gonna grab my brush. My brush was chilling in the washroom where I wash it every night. Yeah, it'll be fun, Jordan. It'll be cool. William's a clever dude with a lot of good questions, so I'm looking forward to what we can come up with. It's kind of something I'd wanted to do something like that at a convention for years. Actually, sort of not just do a panel, but have it be sort of like a class. All right, I've just got water on the brush right now. Just making sure it flows good. I use the brush soap I use as a conditioner. So the brush starts really soft in the beginning. And I actually like it to be a little stiffer. I usually wash all the conditioner out, but it usually takes hitting it with a little water and ink for it to start to stiffen up. My favorite brush, or my favorite time of the day for a brush, is you only dip part way and then you sort of start to work it in, because it'll work its way up. If you dip all the way up in, dip all the hairs all the way in, it'll start soaking up in there more, and you'll lose the brush sooner than you need to. So you do about a half or 3/4 up around. Just you don't really go too far past the bend of the brush, and then you just kind of work it in, and in a minute it'll be ready to hit the sketch cover with. Oh, should I ink this Divinity? That's awesome. I'll send this to you instead, Jordan. I'll be like, oh, I didn't tell you which thing you got from the live stream. You get this awesome sketch of Divinity. Explaining the costume. Actually, when I do these at conventions, people always end up taking them anyways. No one ever posts that, though. I've never seen anyone take one of my funny sketches and post it. I've never seen that they actually kept it. I hope they did. I think it's funny that they always wanted stuff like that. But yeah, people always want my little explanation pieces too. Okay, so let's get in here. Yeah, you know what? I'll throw that sheet in with you. So everyone, the reason I'm doing this for Jordan isn't just because he's a cool guy. He is, but he won a raffle over on my Twitter page. We did a retweet to win, or maybe this was a comment to win. This might have been a retweet to win. And we're going to be doing a bunch more of those coming up. I've got tons of sketch covers. I've got some that are already done that I should be raffling off weekly. Yeah, maybe we'll start doing that. Okay, so let's see with this guy. Where do I want to start? I want to start center. I want to hit this. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Okay. Get these lines. We're going to go nice and bold so that everything pops nicely. Really lush brush lines here. Oh yeah, this brush is doing it. So this is a bonus that I don't get to do at conventions. I'm not that comfortable taking brush and ink jars to conventions. I know a lot of people that do it. I've done it before. I've got some cool stories of doing it, but it's not my favorite. But it is my favorite way to ink sketch covers. So that's why I kind of like doing these at home too. And while I have a blast doing them at conventions, it just I'm always sitting there going, man, I wish I had this at home, and I wish I had 20 more minutes. Because I'm not a procrastinator and I don't overthink things. I like to get things done quickly. But sometimes you just want 20 more minutes and you want your own tools. So I'm almost always apologetic at conventions, and I shouldn't be. I'm like, oh, sorry, this is all I could do. And it usually turns out better. When I see it later, I see a photo of it later, I'm like, oh, okay, no, that turned out great. Oh, look, I already smudged. All right, we're going to do something in the background then. We'll do some black there to fix that. That's a convention move. I barely ever smudge when I'm working on my own. I'm so well practiced, but when I'm at conventions, I smudge all the time. Luckily, it's usually something I can fix very easily. I did have an incident once where somebody had a rare Top Cow variant, and this was back when I was working for them on the Darkness. And oh man, I smudged my signature, and it was, oh god, it was a rare variant. I forget which one it was. It was on the Michael Broussard run. But I smudged the variant, and we were at like WonderCon or something. It was a big show like that, so there's lots of retailers. And I went personally around looking like I forget who it was now, but whoever the collector was who owned the books that I smudged was very apologetic, or was very, they didn't seem to care, but I felt so bad that I went around. It took me forever to find this damn variant to replace it. And then when I got back to the Top Cow booth, they were waiting with me, and they had already gone and found a replacement. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was kind of funny. So then I signed both of them, both variants for him, and it turned out okay. And it turned out to be kind of a fun day of looking for a book for somebody. But yeah, it was something I thought would be kind of easy to find. We're at this giant convention. I messed up this cover. I'll go tell a retailer, and they can help me find it. And yeah, it turns out the owner of the book I smudged went and got another copy anyways. But yeah, that was an embarrassing moment. I mean, I'd been in the industry for a while as an assistant. When I got to Top Cow, that was my first time like working on my own. And you're I think I was in my late 20s, or maybe I was around 30. And oh man, you want to seem so pro and so cool, and then you just smudge. Like I did the signature down here, and then it was something like it slipped in my hand when I went to hand it to him, and it smudged the autograph all the way up. So embarrassing. So I miss doing conventions. It costs too much to get to shows these days, and you have to be able to make money to pay for the tables. You have to like sell prints of characters you don't own, because that's just what happens, and I don't like doing that. So it's been kind of a bummer not really doing conventions. Having an artist alley table can be really fun, but learning to connect online with people has been fantastic. I was late to the game. I've had my Twitter account since like 2011, but I wasn't even really active on it till like a couple years ago. And then even then, I didn't really get active on it until about a year ago. And I'm loving it. It's like McDonald's, baby. I'm loving it. I'm connecting with fans and readers and other artists from like all over the world like I never have before. And now that I can live stream and do things like this, it's like always a convention. I heard some people complaining about that the other day. They're like, oh, Twitter, the convention that never ends, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. It's the convention that never ends, that like you can't get sick going on. Like you're like, oh, you didn't get sick, you didn't get tired. It's practically free. And I've been hooking up with fans like crazy recently, having so much fun, learning all kinds of stuff about all kinds of different people, which is what I love about going to conventions. Let's make these shadows look a little cooler. going to conventions it was a mind-opening experience. Getting to meet so many different people, especially going to different parts of the country. If you have the means to travel to a convention, even just as a fan, I highly recommend it. There I am with the highly recommends again. It's really fun to go to different states and meet different people and just everyone's cool at all the conventions. Everywhere you go. I've never been to a convention where I was like, oh god, the people there suck. I've been to conventions where like, damn, are all the people in this city awesome? Like Phoenix is one of those places where every single person I've met from Arizona has been awesome. Every single person I've met from Seattle shows has been incredible. And I'm talking people of all walks of life. And I always have fun. Like New York's a great place to meet people and stuff. But yeah, I never thought that there'd be towns that I'd go where it's just like, Jesus, everyone here really, really nice and really awesome. That's how Japan was. When I went to Japan, I couldn't believe how courteous everyone was to strangers and things like that. All right, we're cooking on this inks. We're at 76 minutes. We're going longer than I planned, but we got more people watching than I planned too. That's rad. Thanks everybody. Those of you that have been sticking it out, I really appreciate it. Always either in the comments here or later on when the video is posted, or you can even email me. Let me know stuff you want to know about. If there was something I didn't go over that you want to hear more about, feel free to chime in. And if I'm missing comments right now, it's because I'm looking down and concentrating on this. So we'll do the upper lip shadow there. And see if we did any heavier with that, where even in real life there may be shadow that comes up here, but to me it just starts to look like a mustache, and we don't want a divinistache. So we'll go heavy on the top here of those little, I still don't know what to call them, the chin cubes, the light beards, the whatever this is. So give a shadow there, and then we'll do his chin shadow here. Again, all the lines coming from the center, working their way out. So I need to have David Barron show up, come hang out at my house, and then he can take over on colors. I do our little ellipse shapes there. And as we get higher up, we'll go a little heavier with the lines. Let's see, am I in frame? Okay. Do these little circles, and while I'm in a circle mood, we'll do all the circles. And these ones we'll have heavy on we'll have them open on the top. It's breaking because of the light. This is also the part of when I'm inking something that I'm having fun with that I start getting a little bummed because I'm more than halfway through now. So I'm like, oh, I see the ending coming now. Okay. But I'm just starting to have fun. So maybe tomorrow we should do another sketch cover. I actually have one. It's a really fun project. It's for CBCS, the slabbing company, and they have a collector that wants me to do one figure and wants Louis LaRosa to do a figure that's fighting the figure I draw. So I need to hit up Louis and see if Louis wants to do a video of that. of him drawing his, and I'll do mine. I have it now, so I would do mine first. But I need to see if Lewis would be interested in that. Even if not, on I'll do mine on a live stream or video or something like that. But I think it'd be super cool. Another thing we have coming up that I think is super cool is Alternate Comics fan over on Twitter, AJ, came up with an awesome idea to have Peter Simeti of Alternate Comics draw some piece. We don't know what he's going to draw yet. And he'll do a live stream of him drawing either a sketch cover or a sketch card, most likely. And then he'll send it to me, or he'll probably just send me the scan, and then I'll print it up and do the inks live. And I'm hoping he picks some like cool alternate character. Like he does awesome versions of like, you know, Joker and Ghost Rider and all that stuff, or Hulk. Hulk might be cool, but Alterna's got so many great lines. And he's a good promoter, so I'm sure if he wants to promote something, he'll figure out a cool thing to draw. But I thought that was such a good idea. I can't see right now if AJ's joined us, but that was a great idea. I want to do more stuff like that. I'd like to do something like maybe I could get inker Walden Wong to ink something of mine on video. Walden's another just absolutely fantastic inker. He mostly works for Marvel, but you'll see him pop up everywhere, and he also has a great YouTube channel. Other inkers I recommend, let's see, I got Walden Wong. Richard Friend has probably the best inking channel. And I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head if he goes by Richard Friend or if he goes by Blaster Kid, which is kind of his online moniker. But either way, I bet if you look up Richard Friend inking, it'll bring up his page. And like me, he tries to make it interesting and entertaining even if you're not an artist. He's great at conventions too. I've been a fan of his since I was young, because he's a little older. He's not an old dude, but he's just a few years older than me. And he's been doing this for a long time. So he's been at all sorts of conventions. And he's always so kind and so open and so willing to discuss the process and tips and everything like that. All right, so I need to let this dry for about 10 seconds. You guys can make note of checking out Richard Friend's YouTube channel and tell him I sent you. I don't get anything. I just want you to tell him I sent you. So a little tip or trick that you can do sometimes when you're waiting for something to dry, you can get your Post-it, and since none of this is too wet, there's no puddles of ink anywhere, we'll cover that up. And I just saw a comment pop up. Let's see. Yeah, Exian, cool. I'm glad. I think you were one of the people I recommended him to on another video or in the comments or something. I'm super glad you went and checked him out. He's really cool. He's really fun. He's got a lot of energy. I'm very mellow. He's a little high energy, and I don't mean a little high energy for me. I mean he's just a little high energy. He's kind of like, "Hey guys, it's Rich. Let's do this," and he's very excited. And that's one of the things I love about when I talk to him at conventions is he's got a real just a gung-ho attitude. He's like, "Oh, this is how you do this. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, do this. Just do it like that. Yeah, you can do it." Now watch, you guys are gonna go meet him, and he'll be like tired at a convention. "Hey, how you doing?" But I recommend. Actually, most of the California inkers I know are really, really fun people. I trained with originally Danny Mickey, and he's another great guy. He's really fun. He's all into like skating and music and movies, and so he's a lot of fun to talk to. I then worked with Joe Weems and John Levsey. They were roommates at the time, and they're both fantastic inkers, and I learned so much from working with both of them. And they're really fun guys. If you see them at a convention, they're both really into what they do. They're both really into comics, and they both have like really great stories and history as fans and professionals. And I actually met Joe Weems when I was 12 and he was 16. And I'll be doing a video about this story, but when I have the stuff to show. But so at around 12, I knew I wanted to be in comics, and I started going to conventions. And I was a bit of a go-getter and kind of a little entrepreneur when I was a kid. I was really into, I wanted to be, basically I wanted to be Jim Shooter. You know, he started writing when he was 13, professional comics. He started writing Legion of Superheroes and stuff like that. So I wanted to be the next Jim Shooter. So I went to these local conventions and I would meet and talk to anyone I could talk to. And I met this inker artist. Actually, he was just an artist at the time. I mean, he did his own inks, but he wasn't inking other people yet, as he was only 16. So I met Joe Weems at a local hotel comic convention, and he was working on an independent project called Locust. And Locust was kind of like a Gambit Wolverine ripoff that was a superhero with a staff, and he was based on the locust insect, so he kind of had like grasshopper elements and things like that. And what's funny is the writer of this story was Dan Slott. So this was back before Dan was a professional comic writer. He had to be in his early 20s. I don't think he's more than 10 years older than I am, so he might have actually still been in his teens as well. So I have some Xeroxes of their work and stuff. That's what I need to dig it up in some boxes that I found recently. I know it's in there. I kept this stuff. I just need to dig it up. So that'll be kind of interesting to look over that. I hope Dan doesn't get mad that I show that stuff. I don't think it's embarrassing because everyone was young, so it's not like we'd be judging the work. I think it's actually a cool piece of comic history. But it was something I didn't realize for a long time because I saw their book Locust, and I actually wanted to try out working for them. And of course the name Dan Slott didn't mean anything. Then I put that thing in a box and didn't see it for years, and then it wasn't until after I'd moved a few times and Dan had started writing Spider-Man over 10 years ago, around 10 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, this guy that that did this Locust book turned out to be Dan Slott. So that's a pretty funny Dan Slott story. The other part of that I'll go in on the other video with more detail is I either contacted Dan or the guy that was publishing it for them, which I don't remember if there was another guy. It may have just been Dan running it, but I'll know when I find the stuff. But I contacted them, and I was pretending to be older than I was because I didn't think anyone would want to talk to a 13-year-old. So I told him I was 16, like Joe Weems, and I did the whole trying to make my voice sound deeper. And my friend was there, my friend coached me, we basically went over a script so that I would sound like how old I was, and we figured out what high school classes I would be taking in case they asked me questions and this, that. They didn't ask me any questions. They just said, yeah, just turn in some samples and we'll check out your work. And so what I did is I went and just copied an Art Adams X-Men annual. I literally just drew my versions of his pages, same panel by panel, composition, everything. And I sent that in, and I never heard back from them. But I have those pages too, so I'm hoping to be able to share those sometime soon. I think those would be pretty funny. All right, this is coming along good. I think it's probably better that we're going black and white. I got an idea for the background. And yeah, it won't take much longer. Wow, we're going on 89 minutes. You guys are still hanging in there. That's awesome. I'm glad this worked out for so many people at this time. All right, let's do these tubes. I should have done the tubes first because you all know I hate the tubes. They got their little folds. I'll get his shoulder here. vest, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you'd call it. And let's see, this guy is going to be open on this side, so we'll go heavy like that, and then open like that. And we'll go in and clean that up in a minute. Heavy on the shadow side, a little thinner here. And then like that one will do its little divider rings. Hopefully, I don't know what he uses these for. We need to have a serious discussion with Matt Kent about what the tubes are, dude. What are the dang tubes, bro? And we'll do a little rendering there. So the shadow isn't too strong. We don't want that solid black because it'll draw our eye to it. We want most of our solid black here. In fact, I want to go heavier on the under eyelid, even though that would be not quite that heavy. I want to draw attention there. Okay, and we got this. Let's see, we've got rest of the vest. The vest of us for the rest of us. And we got this shadow here. Bring these lines like that. We won't go black there, too heavy black there either, because we don't want to draw attention to just the secondary items in the image like that. Okay, so we need to let this dry for just a second. I'm going to go in and clean up that circle. And let's see, we're going to do that with a marker and a template. That ringy ding you hear, that's me. Hopefully it's not too loud in your headphones or your speaker. That's me rinsing out my brush. And we're going to use a brush marker. This is a zebra brush. You can get these for a couple bucks online. They are super handy. They come in 3 different sizes. I'll raffle some off again pretty soon. Oh, too big. Too big of a template. Let's see, here we go. I'm going to do a slight ellipse with it. It just came out a little crooked, so I want to even it out like this. Let's see, is that on screen? There we go. Just clean it up a little. There we go. Okay. Now, we definitely want to give this a second to dry. I'm even going to do this over it. And this doesn't seem like much, and it may seem like if I get something wet, I'm going to smear it. Nothing's wet enough to smear right now unless I'm using the eraser. So I learned that doing conventions with even with my brush ink. It seems like it's dry, and it's dry to the touch, but when you go to erase, it may smudge. So I want to kind of just take any edge off that. And then, even before I hit it with this, I'll hit the big blank spots like this. No problem. But then, let's see, where did my kneaded eraser go? Looks like gravity took over and stole my eraser. I got it back, though. So we'll take our kneaded eraser again. We'll get it nice and clean. And then, again, just dab the pencil area. And it lifts up all the smudgy pencil. And it lightens any of the harder lines that were there. It doesn't lift up too much. See how dirty that's gotten already? So we'll fold around again. We'll get it nice and clean again. And we'll start our dabbing again. Dab, 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 dab. And then when I feel comfortable with that, I'm going to go in with this guy. Got a nice clean corner, and I'm going to pull away from the center so that we don't hook the top and bend it back. So all the force, all the erasing pressure is when I'm stroking away from the middle. And it may not make that much difference in video, but when you clean up the light gray smudges, it really makes anything that's left over with the black pop that much more, and the white is that much brighter. All right, and then from this side, I'll pull down, again, as to not catch the edge. I do the same thing with my originals when I'm erasing those. Erase out to the edge, because there's been so many times you're erasing fast because you got a deadline and you catch the page and like, oh, just pull it up and wrinkles or folds, or I've torn pages because I'm erasing so fast, all in the name of the deadline. All right, I haven't checked in on comments for a while. Hopefully this is still going good for you, Jordan. Hopefully, oh, see, that was a perfect example. I caught myself. Whew. That time I wasn't even trying to erase there. The cover just lifted up a little and the eraser caught it. So, yep, we're gonna lift up high and come back like that. Whew. Man, it would take another 90 minutes to redraw it, and I had to run around a convention to find a replacement. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I think my signature is going to go in that light. So right now, let's see. I think I want to do something in the background. I'm going to do like a gray wash. Just make this up as I go. This is a Pentel brush pen, like a pocket brush. It's funny, I bought it thinking it was solid black, because the barrel is black and everything's black. I just grabbed it off a shelf. I was just playing around. I saw some people using these at conventions and I was like, oh, this looks like fun. And I got home and I was like, I'll try inking this page with it. And then it was all gray like this. So I'm going right over the logos and everything. We're stealing this image. We're forgetting about credit and things like that. Yeah, you can squeeze it. You want to be careful. Like I squoze it and then I realized I was above a spot that I didn't want. Well, I've gone off frame. I'm sorry. You guys, sorry about that. I hope I wasn't off frame too long. I'm usually pretty good about that. So putting all this wet onto a comic book with the pages right there reminds me, one of the guys from the Imperious Rex podcast was out visiting, and so we went over to a friend's house and we were having some drinks, and my friend who was playing bartender had asked me to bring my portfolio over, and Dave from Imperious Rex, their comic podcast, so he would like to see my portfolio too. So I brought it over, and then after a few drinks, oh boy, you better believe a martini got spilled on the top of my portfolio. And I've never seen people jump so quick. My friend that did it, he was in and out of the room like the Flash. Like, he was back with paper towels so quick, because although the artwork is in plastic sleeves, so it was actually going to be okay. I knew that even as I saw it happening. But boy, there's a moment there where you're just like, oh crap, a martini just got poured all over my artwork. And I never drink, so if something had been ruined, that would have been one of those things of like, I'm never drinking again. Luckily, it just turned out to be a funny story, then everything's okay. But I've never seen my friend move so quick. It was like Justice League when Batman tells the Flash to just save one life. He was in and out that quick. Paper towels saving my portfolio. All right, this is cool. This is getting a little texture and life. And it's a little glossy looking in the video, but that'll all die down once it's... Yeah, I sort of like this. Getting a little Matt Kinty kind of watercolor effect here. And then it really makes... It's really going to make him pop. I'm trying to hold it sideways so you don't get the glare. Yeah, I like doing this stuff live too. There's something about working at a convention or working live, and it makes you think clearer and quicker, and you don't have time to hesitate on things. You got to make your decisions, and you got to make them quick, and you got to be confident about it. When I started drawing at conventions, I was a little nervous. I was excited because it's kind of feels like it's my turn to be on stage, and that's sort of how you feel about it. And then you're like, oh crap, it's my turn to be on stage. And then you're like, ah. Especially like I was lucky. I came in with Danny Mickey into the studio, even though I was always doing indie books as well. You know, you hang out with Danny Mickey and you're like, oh, this is cool. I get to hang out with all these bigger artists at the convention. And then you're sitting next to these guys that can just draw like, oh, it's just the most amazing talent. And when I started out, I'm still not an amazing talent. I'm a skilled craftsman that learned how to do all this stuff. There's some serious talent out there. And especially when I was working at like Top Cow and Image, man, like those guys may be slow and their books may not come out on time that often or whatever, but those guys can draw. You know, that's the school that Finch came from. That's where Francis Manipool came from. Okay, so I want to do one more thing that I'm hoping works out. So this cover's still kind of wet. So we're going to take a jelly roll, make sure it's working. And I want to kind of add stars while it's wet. Just here and there. We'll see if it works out. It's actually not working out. Next. It's too wet, so we can get rid of that. All right, we'll let that dry for a minute. We'll go ahead and do my signature, which doesn't mean we're totally done. Signature used to mean I was 100% done, but now I like to place it. Make sure I like the way it looks. All right, we got a couple shadows I want to darken in here. That just got a little lighter when we erased. All right, I think we're done. It's up to Jordan now. Jordan is the final judge. I see Exian commenting about Otley being on Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I love his artwork. I was never a huge fan of Invincible, even though there's nothing wrong with it. It just, for some reason, I don't like extra bloody superhero stuff. So I've read most of the trades. I haven't caught up. I will eventually, because it is fantastic and his artwork is so good. But that was kind of the only reason I stayed away. So when I heard he was coming to Spider-Man, I was like so excited. He is so perfect for Spider-Man, which he's proven over the last decade. But I'm really excited because I think he'll be able to prove himself without all the violent stuff or the ultra violent gore, because he's such a good artist and he's good at every kind of fantastical comic booky thing. So I think having him on Spider-Man is the best. Hey, Hoodoo's here. Hey, what's up? Thanks, guys. Yeah, so I'm excited about Otley. That'll be great. And I know people. I haven't been keeping up on Nick Spencer's stuff. I didn't read any of his recent Marvel stuff. So I'm hoping he does good. Some people seem excited about it. I read his old Image stuff, and that was good. Yeah, Exian, back to Otley really quick. Yeah, it'll be funny because every time a trade comes out, my friends are like, "Oh, check this out," and they always go to the spread that's everyone's teeth and skulls and everything flying apart, and he does such a good job at it. Uh, but I was always like, "Oh, imagine if that was all just webbing and hobgoblin bombs and things like that. Like, it would be just as cool." And he's probably going to do some of the best Amazing Spider-Man double page spreads ever. I I guarantee. All right, we got the okay from Jordan. So I've kept you guys for a long time now. So I think we're gonna ring the bell and sign off, and then we'll be done for the day. All right, thank you. Exian likes it as well. So I'll be posting it on Twitter, higher resolution. And I will also be posting it on my DeviantArt page. All right, thank you, Exian. Take it easy yourself. I want to thank Hoodoo and Rob for showing up. Jordan. Nah, Jordan, you're the best. Hoodoo at ECCC. Thanks for joining us. Have a good Sunday. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, William. Thanks for joining. And Jordan signs off for us. We're out of here.